As we continue to read from the Gospel of Mark, and today we reach chapter 13. I'd like to refresh your memory about last week. We talked about the woman, the widow who gave the money, but also we talked about the leader, the teacher who acted arrogant and disconnected with the other people. But why I'm visiting the last week sermon, because I want to put you in the context what happened. So Christ is in the temple. We are not repeating the sermon, but just want to know the location. Where Christ was is a very important. Every time when you read the Gospel of Mark, the location is really have a significant meaning. So if he's saying Christ is going toward Jerusalem, he's not just giving just a matter of statement, just it doesn't mean a thing. It means every direction. If he is inside something, if he's outside something, so that I want to give you this where Christ is physically. So last week Christ is inside, watching this woman giving money, watching these leaders, teachers, pastor, rabbi, whatever religious leaders you can claim them, and they were acting so arrogant and so disconnected with people. So Christ is in the event, inside the temple. Today is Mark switching from Christ being inside, watching what is happening inside the temple. Is Christ taking a step back? He's leaving. So in the body language, Christ being in, and in this text, Christ is kind of giving a look back as he's leaving this magnificent place that we call the temple. And this temple is so important. If you are a Jew, you understand that's the only sense of pride and achievement and an historical monument that stand there to remind you that God was there. The dream that's happened. So, and today, because we are not a Jew, maybe we really underestimated the value of the meaning of this temple. So the temple was a big dream. The Jews lived for centuries dreaming about the idea to have a house for the Lord. They looked for the Egyptian, for the Assyrian, for all these ancient empires, and they say, like, all these people are worshiping idols. And look what kind of temples they are building for their gods. And they were dreaming about our God is a true God and deserve a place. So this was a dream for generations, for decades. Well, not even exaggerate if we say for centuries. And the dream goes on and on until a guy named David, his dream said, Lord cannot be sitting outside there. I want to build a house to the Lord. And then the Lord said, because there is a blood in your hand, David, I see your heart is burning to build a place for me. Because there is a blood in your hand, you cannot. But I will honor you by letting your son build a temple. And we have a whole book in the Old Testament about the temple. Can you imagine? A whole book will tell you about how much benches were there, what kind of gold was put on the wall, what kind of silver, where they got the wood for the benches, all the details that even a lot of people say, why do even I care to understand that? Maybe for us as spoiled Christian, we did not value that. But for a Jew, it's a sense of honor and a sense of really pride. So they want to speak so much in details about this thing. So they build this idea of having a house to the Lord. And we build a temple where the whole world can talk about. Does the story ended there? Nope. So 500 years before Christ, something happened called the exile. So the Syrian came and destroyed Jerusalem. And they actually destroyed the temple. And they took all the values. Say, is this the gold you guys love? We can take it. Is this a silver? So the sense of pride turned to be a sense of shame. The house that we look at and look at what God, the Lord gave us, and now it's gone. The source of pride became the source of humiliation. The source we feel we are so strong, we are so proud. Look how much the Lord did for us. The same place turned to be a source of shame. Why did you leave us, Lord? What happened? how this place that we looked at as you've been there for us, taking care of us, make us so proud that you are our God who's different from the other gods. So this is the background that you need to understand. These disciples are not just making nonsense. They are really talking about, as a Jew, how much they admire this temple. The story of the temple, the rise of the temple, and the structure of the temple. But then we know too that Cyrus, the great Assyrian guy who told him to go back and rebuild the second temple. So when our disciples, when Christ's disciples talking, they're talking about the second temple that was rebuilt. And was rebuilt by the help of Cyrus, this guy who was really against God, but then the story turns to be, he's the one who asked the Jews to go back. He protected them and he gave them the money and the resource to rebuild this place. So we are standing watching a temple that shows the story of the beginning and the story of destruction and the story of rebuild. So these people do not get the idea about God is the true builder of this place. God is capable to give you something to be proud of. But God also can destroy and destruct to give you a new thing. As we said, just Jesus is leaving the temple, and the disciples are saying, look what the Lord gave us. Look at this place. This is the only source of pride that we have. And Christ shocked them. He's not saying, oh, this is magnificent. This is a masterpiece of building. He just shocked them by giving them very bad news, saying this place is not going to sit as what you think. So some people took it literally, and we can understand it this way. Actually, the temple was destroyed again at the age of 70 AD. So we're talking about around 50 years after the death, or 40 years after the death and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. The Romans destroyed the temple very much. So some people take it this way, that was a sign Christ talking about the future. But really Christ also was not talking about the future. He was trying to teach them that God who gave you the power to build, he can rebuild things. God who gave you the power to be proud of something, he can take it out from you when it's became a destructive tool in your life. Remember that the same blessing, the same things that give you blessing in your life, too much of it can be the source of destruction. So the idea of God giving them the idea, build the big house, be proud of that. But do not worship the temple. The temple is reminding you who is there. So when God gives you all the money and the power and the resources and all the magnificent thing that you did to build this temple, but by days the temple itself became an idol. The temple is to remind you, is a sign of who is there. Why did we put all this money and efforts and everything? Why? The problem with signs, as we talk, and we heard Jen talking to the children today, the signs on the road, if you look too much at it, it's dangerous, because we want to keep focus on the road, right? But also if you ignore it, it's dangerous. Because I know this means I've been driving for 10 or 20 years. I know I didn't even need to look at these things. So ignoring the signs is really dangerous. But also as a very, really rusty new driver, and do not trust and keep looking at the sign for 5 minutes, that's going to be a big accident, right? I didn't need to do that. There is a time to give the value of the signs, not to give it too much, where the whole idea that we talk about, and I want some of you to remember that. Do you remember during the Cold Wars, how we used to talk about this, the end of the war, between the clash between America and the Soviet Union, if you remember these days, right? You remember that we're talking about this is the year of 1980 something, there is something going, and many preachers and we talked about the event and forgot about the idea that God is not telling you about predicting the future. We're not doing witchcraft. We are not so obsessed about somebody is going to do some of these cards or some of these kind of weird things to tell you what's going to happen to you in the future. God is not doing any of that, but he's saying anytime you see unusual signs in life, this is the way God is saying, I'm knocking on your doors. Are you listening? When God talked about earthquake happened before Christ saying that, and after it will happen every day. But what is the point? The point is earthquake is not going to happen every day. These natural disasters are not going to happen every day. But when it happens, you human are so arrogant. You do not listen. And when you keep walking, you become so confident of yourself. And God is saying, I am the one behind everything. So when God is giving us all these signs in our life, it's not to scare us. And not to make us, oh, we are one step closer to the end of the world, and the war is happening in the Middle East, and the new election, and whatever you like to name it. You put the puzzles as whatever. So we became so obsessed with the signs itself, and we forgot the goal of what is the sign there for. If maybe the last election is a big win for you or a big loss, it doesn't matter. It's telling you the question, who do you trust? Who do you put your faith in? In a party? In an elected president? How many times you elected guys and they then disappointed you later, right? And how many maybe you do not like, and maybe later, maybe. But the whole idea is, where do you put your faith? Do you trust that God, even if there is a bad guy is running the whole world or is a good guy, it doesn't matter because God is the one behind everything. Even God can use a bad preacher to teach you good things. Yes, God can do that actually. God can use a bad president to maybe lead into something better. I believe in God. I didn't know how. It seems irrational. It seems hard to understand. But I know my God is powerful. It's powerful even to challenge my own math and my own rational and my own numbers. This is the God that say, watch for the signs that keeps you awake, the signs that keeps you humble to know that always a space, there is always, I need to learn something. Do not get too much confident in your health, in your strengths, in your sharp mind, in whatever you have today. But also do not be so afraid that what will happen if tomorrow I lost many things that I'm proud of today. Knowing that God is the one who gave you. God creates even through destruction. God even makes good out of evil. God makes road out of no road. God keeps talking and saying, guys, do you listen? Do not be so obsessed with the event itself. All events, regardless if it's so magnificent, if they are so loud or they're so quiet, God is talking to you. And God is giving you these signs as a signal, not to scare you, but to direct you, and sometimes to redirect you into a different direction. God keeps creating from day one. Destruction and evil been exists from day one. We know about creation. God keeps doing and saving people through the flood, through the Exodus, through many stories of individuals and many nations and many people. God who just survived through 12 disciples, that most of them were bad disciples. Most of them did even have no idea who Christ is. And some of them, they were shameful, they denied him, and some even handed him into the other side of the group. So Christ is telling us today that I am capable to use all of these things. And for those who are afraid, look at the signs and listen for me. Listen as I walk you through that. As Jesus took them back and sat, so they seemed the scene now as they were leaving the temple. They went on the Mount of Olives, and then they were sitting. They are now facing this temple. And Christ started to tell them privately about these things and what's going to be happening. Start to talk about this. Many things going to be challenge you. Many people going to talk in my name. Many people, many versions of Christianity that we have today. And I get so tired and so sick about if I am not Christian and watching these are claiming to be Christian. They hate whatever groups, and these claiming to be Christian and they love the other group. And I get like, well, who are you guys? You are holding the same Bible, but you are so obsessed and so different about who do you like and who do you not like. What kind of agenda you support and what kind of agenda do you not support. What is really the fine line? What is really the core of what I can know this is really a true Christian without being worried if it's named non-denominational or Presbyterian or Lutheran, Catholic or whatever, is really that love cannot be divided. Love cannot have many places. You may disagree with people. You may do not support what they are doing with a big heart. But you know that you are not against them because you know that God moves in a mysterious way. And you leave your heart is open to know that myself can change day by day. That what may I stand and support or not support today, may tomorrow God will change my heart to see things different. Because I do not see everything. I do not hear everything. But as far as I have the Christian heart is the one that's open to hear. So maybe tomorrow I'll be better. That able to listen and see. The first time looking at the image, it looks vague and unclear. But the more I keep looking and digging deeper, I get things, and things make more sense. Knowing that God moves with me in my strengths and in my weakness, in my clarity and in my foggy road, in the way where I can understand, in the way when I have no clue what is happening in the world, all this crazy news that's overwhelming me and depressed me, and I turn the TV off and everything off because I do not understand. And then to whom I go, to whom I cry, to whom I say, Lord, there is too much terrible news in the world. I didn't even know which side I should take. And everybody is blaming me. I should speak for these people against these people. And I don't know what to do and what to say. And the Lord said, come to me, my people. And I comfort you. And I walk with you through that. So the Lord is giving us this today to know that we are not alone. The sign is not to overwhelm us. The sign is not to blind us. All the signs, they will happen. We are invited not to prepare for destruction of the world. We are invited to plant seeds. We are invited to hold hands. We are invited to build and not to destroy and not to urgent a war against somebody. This is the Christian that I know, that they will always last on earth, even if they know tomorrow is going to be the end of the world. They will not stop laughing and planting seeds of love and peace. And they will not stop working and doing something and knowing that I may not harvest what I plant, but it is part of my belief because I eat what my grandparents did or a stranger planted a long time ago, and I keep doing that. And by doing this, we keep the Christian spirit real, invisible, and tangible. Amen. And now, I ask our new members to come forward.